Buried once, reborn as Lyra Hawke. I remember dying, yet here I stand, torn between the Earl who mourns me and the heir who claims me. A single vial can erase the past, one drop to remember, two to forget. Tonight, the dead choose who lives. Hello everyone, this is Drama Labs, let the story begin. I'm Lysandra Vale, once Countess of Thornfield Hall, now a reluctant guest inside my own second life. The first ended on a winter night when the physician pressed a scrap of parchment into my hand. 3 moons, then the fever will finish its work. I folded the note, smiled at my husband Sebastian Ashcroft across the breakfast table, and continued buttering toast as though the world had not just been shortened to a brittle horizon. Sebastian and I had married 6 years earlier for reasons that sounded noble: land adjoining mine, a title he needed, debts my dowry could drown. On our wedding night he lifted my veil, voice soft as candle smoke. If ever one of us loves another more, we shall part without chains, I laughed, believing love a controllable variable. 6 years later the chains were invisible and iron. The crack began with Celine Draycott. She arrived at Thornfield in a storm-dark carriage, salt still on her boots from her father's ships. I found them in the library, her white kid glove resting on Sebastian's wrist, his eyes fixed on her mouth as though she spoke in a language only he could taste. That night I dreamed of drowning. I woke to blood on the pillow. I packed one trunk, books, the miniature of my mother, the silver brush Sebastian once pretended to admire, and told him I wished to end our contract. Tomorrow, he said, we ride to the magistrate. I agreed, though I knew I would not survive the ride. Instead I stayed one last evening. I ordered every candelabrum in the gallery lit and played his favorite nocturne until the chandeliers trembled. I wore the moon silk gown I had saved for an anniversary that never arrived. He carried me to bed and, for the first time, called me wife. The word felt like a bruise blooming under the skin. 2 days later I convulsed among the roses. Sebastian found me, petals stuck to my skin like accusations. The physician shook his head, the servants whispered. On the third night fever peeled the world. I lay in our chamber watching the ceiling crack into constellations. Sebastian sat beside me, counting the bones of my wrist as though days were coins. You should have told me, he murmured. I laughed until the laughter turned into coughing. Tell him what? That I loved a man who loved the idea of me more than the woman breathing beside him? They buried me beneath a veil angel whose eyes centuries had erased. Sebastian wept, or so I was told. I did not see, I was already adrift. Yet death negotiates strange bargains. I woke to rain on glass, the smell of lavender water and new bread. A stranger's hand, calloused, warm, held mine. Welcome back, Lyra, said the voice. In the mirror I was younger, the scar above my left eyebrow gone. Mrs. Hawthorne, housekeeper to a house I had never seen, informed me I was Lyra Hawke, timber heiress from the colonies, betrothed to Lord Peregrine Blackwood. Newspapers dated 3 years after my funeral confirmed Lysandra Vale was dead. Perry arrived at sunset, tall, golden as wheat, eyes the color of storm glass. He studied me as though I were a map he had once lost. I claimed amnesia. He enfolded me in cautious tenderness. At night I prowled the corridors of Blackwood Manor, listening for footsteps that belonged to another lifetime. The first fracture appeared at midsummer. I wore silver silk, Perry midnight. We spun beneath chandeliers until a voice froze my blood. Lady Vale. Sebastian stood in the doorway, gaunt, hair longer than fashion allowed, eyes burning with accusation. Perry's hand tightened at my waist. You mistake my betrothed, he said coolly. Sebastian's gaze flicked to me, searching. I saw the moment he recognized nothing, yet his pupils flared, as though scent could betray what sight denied. He bowed, apology stiff as armor, and retreated. The room tilted. Perry asked if I felt faint. I blamed the heat. Letters followed, unsigned, stamped with a Thornfield seal, dreams of a woman who walked the cliffs at midnight calling Sebastian's name. He begged audience, swore he had seen my ghost. Perry forbade response. I obeyed, though each refusal felt like burying myself twice. Autumn bled into winter. Perry proposed we elope to Scotland, a week of snow and no names. I kissed him beneath mistletoe and tasted my own betrayal. That same evening Thornfield's steward arrived frantic. The wedding to Celine was off. Sebastian had vanished, sailing for the colonies chasing physicians who raised the dead. Perry's relief was palpable, my own felt like drowning. On the eve of our departure I woke to smoke. Flames licked the corridor outside my chamber. I ran to Perry's room, empty. In the stable yard I found Celine Draycott holding a torch, eyes wild. He chose a phantom over me, she hissed. Let the phantom burn. We fought, nails, teeth, the fury of a woman who had already died once. We rolled in snow until the torch hissed out. She fled, weeping. I staggered back inside to find Perry coughing, half carrying a scullery maid. The fire was contained, but the message lingered: love, once resurrected, demands its due. At dawn I left Blackwood Manor on horseback, a single valise strapped behind. I rode north, following the coast road toward the port where Sebastian's ship had docked. Halfway there, hoofbeats overtook me. Perry drew rein beside me, cloak torn, face streaked with soot. You chase a ghost, he said. And I chase you. Tears froze on my lashes. I must know, I told him. Know if love can survive its own grave. He studied me for a long moment, then offered his hand. Then we chased together. We found Sebastian in a Havana tavern, drunk on gin and regret. When he saw me, the glass slipped from his fingers. Lysandra, he breathed. Or Lyra, whatever name death returned you with. I stepped into the circle of lamplight, Perry at my side. I died, I said. And I came back. Not for you. Not entirely. But to finish what we began. Sebastian's eyes moved to Perry, steady as an anchor. You brought him. He brought himself, I replied. Love is not a ledger, Sebastian. It is a storm. You either ride it or drown. An old woman in the marketplace pressed a crystal vial into my palm, 1 drop to remember everything, 2 to forget. We sailed to a small island where flamingos turned the sky rose. On the cliff path I uncorked the vial. Perry and Sebastian waited, silent as tide. I drank 1 drop, poured the rest into the sea. I choose the woman who survived you both, and the men who let her. We built coral stone walls where trade winds sing. Nights, Sebastian plays piano, Perry carves ships from driftwood, I dance barefoot. The vow that once chained us is now a bridge. In darkness I see love refusing to die.